Hi everyone, today I will explain about the Eye of Ra, symbol of the powerful sun god Ra. The Eye of Ra. When we talk about myths and ancient symbols, we have to be very careful about how we read the information, since some of the ancient religious symbols are used more than once but have different purposes. This is true for the Eye of Horus and the Eye of Ra. They are basically the same symbol, but they have different purposes behind them. The Eye of Horus was seen more as a protective spirit, while Ra had different attributes to it. Origin of the Eye of Ra. The eye is represented in amulets capable of repelling all negative energy and restoring harmony. That's why the pharaohs used them to defend themselves against any element or enemy that tried to destabilize their government. One must be careful when invoking its energy because it can get out of control and become very violent. The amulets were painted with a dark red color and also worked to protect against evil entities or spells and attract good health. Some mythology about the Eye of Ra. It was said that the Egyptian sun god Ra sailed in his boat across the sky during the day and transported it back to the underworld at night. There is a myth that the human Ra was old and very weak, and because he was vulnerable, his people began to ignore his laws and instructions. He sent his daughter, the lion's Eye of Ra, to punish his people. The eye became angry and destroyed humanity. The gods feared that the eye would kill all humans. Ra used red beer to get his eyes drunk and passed out. Then the eye was calm again and returned to Ra. Another myth says that he is Ra's eye to obtain information. Sometimes that purpose is used along with the previous one, and he administers his from justice with the information collected by his eye. A more benign purpose for the eye can be seen when Ra acts as a loving father and sends his eye to search for his two lost children. Another representation of the Eye of Ra is the symbol of a cobra wrapped around a solar disk. Although there is a problem with this symbol, and that is that it is also used to represent another goddess. She also has a relationship with the eye as her symbol. Eye of Ra power. The eye is represented in amulets capable of repelling all negative energy and restoring harmony. That's why the pharaohs used them to defend themselves against any element or enemy that tried to destabilize their government. One must be careful when invoking its energy because it can get out of control and become very violent. The amulets were painted with a dark red color and also worked to protect against evil entities or spells and attract good health. How the Eye of Ra came about. How the Eye of Ra came about is also due to a myth. When the children of Ra were lost, he sent his eye to look for them. During the absence of Ra's original eye, another one grew. When the first eye successfully returned with the children, he became jealous and very upset. To solve his problem, Ra simply placated the first eye by turning it into a uraeus and placing it over the other eyes on his forehead. A final representation of Ra's eye is seen in the form of a cat. This cat bastet was often used to protect Ra from a snake called Apep. This representation can also be confusing since the cat is linked to at least 7 other Egyptian gods. Symbol of the Eye of Ra. Many people believe that the Egyptians symbolized the Eye of Ra with the same image that used to symbolize the Eye of Horus. Some scholars think that the solar disk surrounded by 2 cobras uraeus was the Egyptian symbol for the Eye of Ra. The Egyptians saw several goddesses as personifications of this symbol, including Bastet, Hathor, Mut, and Wadjet. Meaning of Egypt of Ra. The Eye of Ra represented the sun to the Egyptians. It was often associated with the destructive power of the sun, but the Egyptians also used it to protect buildings and themselves. The Eye of Ra was a symbol of royal authority. The Eye of Ra was painted on amulets. It had a protective power for the Egyptian pharaohs, perhaps as a kind of ancient weapon. The difference between the Eye of Horus and Ra. The Eye of Ra is often confused with the Eye of Horus. However, the two are quite distinct. The Eye of Ra represents the right eye, and the Eye of Horus the left eye. Ra is the sun god. His power is quite close to the almighty gods of the monotheistic religions. In this sense, his power of vision is thus unlimited. His eye is called the eye that sees everything. This is not the case with Horus, whose powers are limited and whose protection is mostly linked to physical integrity. A protective symbol. The difference is that the Eye of Ra is drawn as a right eye, while the Eye of Horus is drawn as the left eye of Horus. The Eye of Horus is a strong protective symbol, used for thousands of years by the Egyptians. It is associated with vision, especially the power of vision between the afterlife and the world of the living, the protection of physical integrity and health. Worn as an amulet around the neck, it protects the wearer. It should be noted that the Eye of Horus symbol corresponds to the location of the third eye, represented by the sixth chakra. The sixth chakra represents the seat of intuition and clairvoyance, including the ability to see things usually hidden. A 1,000-year-old talisman used since antiquity, the Eye of Horus has been able to cross the centuries to come and protect us. Wear it as a jewel to benefit from its health protection. Displayed in a house, it will protect its integrity. Don't forget that the Eye of Horus is symbolized by a left eye. The right eye is the Eye of Ra. It is a powerful symbol of protection. Egyptian mythology is abundant with symbolism, and among its most iconic symbols is the Eye of Ra and the Eye of Horus. Though frequently mistaken for one another, these two symbols have distinct origins and meanings. In this article, we will probe deeper into the Eye of Ra and the Eye of Horus, scrutinizing their meanings, disparities, and importance in ancient Egyptian culture. Eye of Ra versus Eye of Horus. According to ancient Egyptian mythology, the Eye of Ra was originally manufactured as a protective weapon by the goddess Hathor. Ra grew angry with humanity and dispatched the Eye of Ra to punish them. The eye grew uncontrollable and ruinous, and Ra feared it would obliterate all creation. He deceived the eye by giving it beer laced with mandrake, causing it to become inebriated and return to him. As a reward, Ra appointed the eye as his personal protector and granted it a place of honor on his forehead. Despite both the Eye of Ra and the Eye of Horus being potent symbols in Egyptian mythology, they possess divergent meanings and distinctions. Here are some of the main differences between the two. The Eye of Ra is a symbol of the sun god Ra, while the Eye of Horus embodies the god Horus. The Eye of Ra is a right eye, while the Eye of Horus is a left eye. The Eye of Ra is often accompanied by a teardrop or cobra, while the Eye of Horus has markings resembling those of a falcon. The differences between the Eye of Ra and Eye of Horus reflect the distinct attributes and powers of each deity. Ra was a commanding and dreaded deity, while Horus was a more compassionate and restorative figure. The positioning of the eyes also has significance in ancient Egyptian culture, as the right eye was associated with the sun and the left eye with the moon.